David grew up in a neighborhood where dreams rarely survived. The streets were cracked, the houses old and falling apart. And opportunities seemed to exist only in other places, places he could only imagine. His family worked hard, but there was never enough. Some days, dinner was nothing more than bread and tea. As a boy, David loved to watch cars drive by on the main street. Old or new, shiny or rusty, he was fascinated by them. To him, cars represented freedom, a chance to go anywhere, to escape. But as he pressed his face against the glass of the bus window on his way to school, he wondered if he would ever have the chance to even sit behind the wheel of one. When David turned 18, life hit him even harder. His father lost his job, and his mother's health grew worse. Bills piled up. Food became scarce. There were nights when David had to swallow his pride and knock on neighbors' doors, asking, "Do you have some bread? Maybe some rice we could borrow." The shame cut deep. Some people turned him away. Others gave him a little, but David promised himself that one day, he would never have to beg again. He tried everything to earn money. He washed dishes in small restaurants, carried boxes at the local market, cleaned windows, even stood on street corners handing out flyers for a few coins. Every night, his back ached, his hands were blistered, but his heart whispered, "Don't give up. This is not the end of your story." And still, he dreamed about cars. One rainy afternoon, after another long, disappointing day, David wandered past a small used car lot. The cars glistened under the streetlights, raindrops sliding down their hoods. He stopped, staring, imagining himself opening the doors, sitting in the driver's seat. Something inside him pushed him forward. He walked straight to the office, where an older man was sitting behind a desk. With trembling hands and a pounding heart, David said, "Sir, I don't have much experience. I don't have much of anything. But I can promise you this. I'll work harder than anyone you've ever hired. Please, just give me a chance." The man looked at him for a long time. David's clothes were wet, his shoes muddy, but his eyes burned with determination. Finally, the man nodded slowly. "All right, kid, I'll give you a shot, but you'll start at the bottom." David's heart nearly burst with gratitude. That single yes changed his life. At first, David did all the jobs no one else wanted. He swept the lot, washed the cars, emptied trash bins, and organized paperwork. The hours were long, the pay small, but David treated every task like it was important. He arrived early, stayed late, and asked questions constantly. After a few weeks, the owner let him shadow the salesman. David listened carefully to how they spoke to customers. Some pushed too hard, some exaggerated, and some even lied just to make a sale. David noticed how uncomfortable people felt when they were pressured. One night, as he lay in his small, cold apartment, he whispered to himself, "If I ever sell cars, I'll do it differently. I'll be honest. I'll make people feel safe." Months passed. David finally got his first chance to speak to a customer. His hands shook. His voice trembled, but he remembered his promise. "Take your time," he told the man. "Ask me anything. I'll be honest with you." The customer was surprised. He wasn't used to being spoken to like that. After half an hour, he shook David's hand and said, "You know what? I trust you. I'll take the car." David's first sale wasn't just about money. It was proof that kindness and honesty could win in a world that often rewarded the opposite. From then on, his reputation grew. People came back asking for him by name. "Go see David," they told their friends. "He's not like the others. He cares." Year after year, David became the best salesman in the dealership. But he didn't waste his earnings on clothes or parties. Every dollar was saved, every extra hour spent learning. He read books about sales, business, and finance. He studied successful entrepreneurs. And at night, he dreamed, not of riches, but of owning something that was truly his. Finally, after years of sacrifice, David made the boldest decision of his life. He gathered his savings, took a deep breath, and opened his own small car dealership. It wasn't glamorous, just a modest lot with a handful of vehicles. But to him, it was more beautiful than any palace. In the beginning, things were hard. Some days he sold nothing. Some months he barely made enough to cover expenses. There were nights he lay awake, wondering if he had made a terrible mistake. But then he remembered the days when he had begged for food, when he had asked strangers for help. If I could survive that, he told himself, I can survive this. Slowly, customers began to notice the difference. David wasn't just selling cars, he was selling trust. He treated every customer like family. He delivered cars to people's homes, stayed late to answer questions, even offered free help when someone's car broke down weeks after the sale. Word spread. His small dealership grew. One location turned into two. Two turned into 5. Within a decade, David owned multiple dealerships, employing dozens of people who once struggled just like he had. One bright morning, David stood outside his largest showroom, watching the sunlight bounce off rows of cars. Some were luxury models, cars he had once only dreamed of touching. Tears filled his eyes as memories flooded back, the nights of hunger, the shame of begging, the rain-soaked day when he had asked for a chance. Now, he was the one giving chances, to his employees, to their families, to the community. With a soft smile, he whispered to himself, I made it. Not because I was lucky, but because I refused to quit. David's journey wasn't just about cars. It was about resilience, about turning humiliation into strength, about proving that no matter how low you begin, with persistence, honesty, and faith, you can rise higher than you ever imagined. The boy who once begged for bread became the man who built an empire, one car, one customer, and one dream at a time.